This conference will now be recorded.
I just got scared
Scared her. Jim, you're silly.
Crazy.
Okay, the class is filling up. Okay, I've got a couple of people. Let's see. Just from my understanding, let's see. Amy, will you talk for a second? I want to make sure that you're coming through okay when the time comes.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, perfect.
Awesome.
And then Deborah?
Yes, I'm here.
There you are. Okay.
Yep, here I am.
And I see Sarah Grace. Are you able to speak as well?
I hope so.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Heather, how's your audio?
It's good.
There you are. Okay. Okay. Stacy, we heard you a minute ago.
It's actually Stephanie. I guess she just left her name on the screen. Sorry.
Oh,
I think Nicole's going to join me, but she's just not here yet.
okay. So, okay. Okay, so Stacy Hamby is actually Stephanie Pearson.
I'll see if I can figure out how to change it.
If you click on your square that has, the little SH in the middle, you should be able to click on the little white dot in the top corner that has the 3 dots and edit your name.
That doesn't show.
Let's see.
So, okay, Stacy Morris, I heard from you earlier.
I don't know if they can or not.
Oh, I hear somebody talking. Hey, Liz.
Sounded like Liz. Yeah.
Speak into the phone for me real quick, or the microphone.
Do what?
Perfect. I just needed to know where you were and that I could hear you.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Heather. Hey, Marcia, can we hear you? And is Jeannie coming?
I'm here. I'm not sure that Jenny's gonna be able to make it.
Okay. All righty. And I think, who did I just see come in? Brandy Owens, are you out there? Do you have audio? Are you able to speak?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, cool.
I will have to leave in between, but I will keep my screen open and try to hop back in when I can.
Okay. Yeah, you said you had an appointment, so. All right. I think we're doing pretty good here. So, Jim, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you take off.
Can I ask a quick question before you get started?
We were just joking about who was going to be the first one. Go for it.
It's me. Do we need to print everything? Because I didn't quite print all of the Excel stuff and not the PowerPoint. Do I need to get that printed up?
It's up to you if you want to print it. We will be referencing it, but oftentimes we just do it all electronically, like have it on a separate screen or something.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, Rhonda, but I can't make any notes on the electronic copy. It's a read only. I can't download it or edit it or anything.
If it's the Excel, there should be boxes up at the top that allow you to switch it from read only. You may need to save it on your machine
I tried. I've tried to save. I've tried to save as. It says it's viewing mode only, and it won't let me change it. I tried to download it, and it said it's not a. I get an error message that says this attachment page cannot be found. Is anybody else having that problem, or is it just me?
I am not having that problem. I can edit the Excel sheet. I just tried right now.
Okay, can you email that to me, Sarah Grace?
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks.
Okie dokie. So we are going to end up putting everyone on mute just to keep the background noise to a minimum. Hopefully everyone's familiar with the chat and is able to put questions into the chat and stuff. Brandy and I are going to be watching that while Jim teaches. And then, of course, we will have time for open question and answer items there, but we have a nice big class, so we want to be sure we're able to cover all of our material. Any questions on anything else before we get started?
Are you going to plan a break? I know this is 3 hours, correct? Or
No breaks. No breaks.
There are.
I'm just kidding.
Wait a second. Wait a second. That's an easy question. Can you put me on and I'll answer that one? I'll take the easy question.
You're not allowed to answer any questions right now. We have to keep energies up. Oh my. Yes, we will have
we will have a break.
I think Jim was going to start with the agenda to kind of give you an idea of how the day was going to play out. So.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Well, I guess we're ready to go. Oh, and Jim, I just muted you on accident.
Yeah, you should be able to just unmute yourself. She muted everybody, so if you want to talk or need to say something, unmute, but you can use chat if you just have a quick question that you want to ask on the side.
All right, so you can hear me?
Yes.
Okay, Rhonda, you're going to make me presenter? All right.
You're so picky.
Well, I wasn't sure. It said you were, so. All right. So I think I know most of you out there. So I've been with CS3 for a while. This is my first time doing the Scissortail year-end class. Usually I do the HRMS one. We didn't have that this year, so they appeased me to let me do this one. So couple things. So basically this is opening welcome. Like I said, I know most of you, so I hope you're all doing well going into the Christmas season. And of course we have year end upon us. As far as the agenda, I didn't really have anything set up for, to actually show it, because it's only really 3 phases. One is we're going to be going over the legislative updates. That's only going to take a few minutes. That's your, I think it's your PDF. And then we're going to actually have the year-end class, the balancing and all the stuff with Scissortail. And then at the end, we'll have the ACA with Rhonda. And then whoever doesn't have ACA can drop off at that point. So we're going to keep an eye on the time and for a breaking point. So I would think that maybe like every hour we'll take a break. And then, so I'm assuming we will probably take a break in an hour, come back, finish up the Scissortail balancing stuff, and then take a little break. And then Rhonda will do the ACA stuff. So hopefully all that works out. And so that should give us enough times in there to take care of what we need to. Like Rhonda said, make sure you put your questions in the chat, and that way they can answer them. We have multiple people monitoring those, and if anything comes up in the middle of the session, that's fine as well. So I think that at this point, I just want to have to do my little disclaimer because I'm having technology problems. So one of them is that every once in a while my internet goes down, but I really just have to switch it back and forth. So I shouldn't really be gone for but 30 seconds if that. So just to let you know, when you do these things, it's kind of like live entertainment. You don't know what's going to happen. Doorbells ringing, maybe bringing Christmas presents. That would be nice. And outside phones ringing and that kind of stuff. So, all right. So in front of me, you see the spreadsheet, but we're going to start with the PDF for the legislative changes. All right. So basically, this is from like the HRMS class we used to have, but we kind of been keeping it up and everything. And so it has the new, what's new for 2022. So as we scroll down here, we can see that Social Security has or is going to be changing the wage base in 2022. It's going to go up to $147,000, and that's going to put the actual tax amount up to $91.14. Social Security rate stays the same. Medicare rate stays the same. Of course, you have your over $200,000 threshold. That will stay the same. 401k did not change last year, but it's going to change this year. So it's going to go from $19,500 to $20,500. And then you have the other things that you see there that are changing. Simple plan limitation, annual maximum compensation, and the limited defined contribution. They are all changing as well. So we have some changes this year. As far as the catch-up, that does not change, so that will remain at $6,500 for the upcoming year. And so other things that we have on here, simple plan stuff stays the same at $3,000. Per diem rates changed a little bit. I think Brandy mentioned that last year. There's probably not as much travel that has been going on, so there wasn't, I guess, big increases, but there are some. Coming down here to the auto rates and stuff for federal, usually charitable and medical don't change. Oh, actually medical, it looks like it did change. It went down to 17 cents a mile. Okay. Wow, that was a surprise. All right, so the business one has not come out yet, and also the relocation one. So that's why you see them in green and nothing in there. We're still waiting for those to come out. So transportation limitations, they stay the same at $270. No changes on Section 125s, and no changes on the educational assistance stuff. But we just put it in there so people know for those common things. Health savings accounts, not much change going on until you get down to the bottom for the annual contribution maximum. It goes up for single by $50 and up for family by $100. And those catch-up contributions will stay at $1,000. As far as federal supplemental tax rates, that stay the same at 22%. And then over the 523,600 will be 37%. So that stays the same as well for the supplemental rates for federal. State unemployment, there are some changes in here. You can see them in red. Some of the states had not reported their new wage base yet, so you'll see some blanks, and there might be some that are. I mean, we probably did this just a little bit ago, but there could have been some that came out, so we'll probably have to review that and see what states. Now, I'm trying to think now with everybody on the phone, everybody's location, but you should be able to find it there and see if your wage base went up this year. Let's see. Oklahoma went up. So that's not all, but that's some of the wage bases that have taken place for changes in 2022. Let's see. One other thing I wanted to make note of. I don't really have much to say about COVID stuff. This was the only thing that might be interesting to some, or was for the CARES Act employer FICA deferral. The first payments are due to be paid no later than December 31st of 2021, and that would be at 50%. And then after that, accordingly in 2022. Neither Kronos nor CS3 makes these payments for you, so you would have to make those payments separate outside of any of the tax stuff that we handle for you. So those payments would have to come directly from you. So that was the COVID stuff that I had. Let's see. Christian money. I think that's probably all the stuff I have for our first section in regards to legislative stuff. So the next thing we'll get into the class and Scissortail. So you were all given the checklist, and so it's an Excel spreadsheet, and it has links to it to other tabs on the form. If you were in it last year, you probably know how that works. So as we go down the line, you can see the blue bolded up items, and then you can click on those and get more detail. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to go through this spreadsheet today, looking at the information, and then also going back to Scissortail and looking at it from that perspective as well. So hopefully you're able to have this open as we go through this. If not, I'll try to periodically, every time we move to the next row, try to bring it back up and let you know where we are in that and along those lines. So the first one that we see is the year-end planning items. We can click on that one and talk a little bit about it. So I know this class is in December, and in the future, you probably already have, but you start preparing a little bit earlier than the middle of December. So maybe October and November, you start looking into things, getting prepared and that kind of thing. So some of the stuff you want to take note of might be special meetings that you have with your group or outside groups in your organization to make sure everybody knows what's coming down the road for whatever it is that you may need. Make sure everybody's aware, like for the W-2 schedule, when will you be doing that, and how will that potentially correspond to other people's activities and stuff of that sort. So I'm going to have a hard time sometimes reading, and then so just bear with me. So usually I go off on my own little tangent, but that was good stuff to know, and always plan ahead in that thing. So anyway, so one of those aspects is creating a year-end calendar, and that one can be, identifying the holidays. So at some point you had Thanksgiving, then you have the Christmas holidays, then you have, New Year's. You may even have one or two I guess it's just one federal holiday in January. So you want to account for those. How does that change up on your payroll schedule? Do you have to move payroll up? Make sure you're aware of that. So W-2s and I believe Rhonda's ACA stuff are all due by January 31st. And so I believe that's a Monday. So it's going to be on that Monday. I think last year it was on a weekend, so it got pushed to like February 1st or something. But this year it'll be on January 31st. So you want to keep in track of your holidays. You want to keep track of any of your payroll processing dates. You want to keep track of any payrolls, maybe supplemental payrolls that you have. I know there's people who have fringe payrolls. I know there's people who have bonus payrolls. Keep track of what days those are. There was something I was going to say there, processing dates and people's vacations. Make sure you keep track of people's vacations to see how that goes with the scheduling. Add all the tax filing due dates. What date will you be mailing out your W-2s? I mean, I know it's not due until the 31st, but we actually have clients across the board. They're trying to get it out as soon as possible. We have the ones who do the mid-month, and then we also have the ones who are scrambling at the end. So we have a wide range, kind of separates it up for us a little bit. But I'm sure we do some of that now as well. So I have to keep that in mind that a lot of you are on tax stuff and, you might not actually be doing the taxes. We may be actually doing the taxes for you. So I just have to keep that in mind when I make statements. So, yep, any tax filing due dates, any dates for the mailing out, I think I already said that. If you have to do your own W-2 filing, we'll talk about that later, where to do that from, but make sure you have that deadline in there. Then review your year-end checklist, verify, who will take care of the steps and stuff. That's a big one. So you have responsibility and tasks. Who's responsible for these particular tasks? You want to make sure you have those defined out. We're probably all pretty much running at a smaller accounting or a payroll group. So, but it's always good to know who's taking care of what. So pre-year-end steps, probably around like your November, early December, year-end balancing, and then your year-end processing kind of stuff. So when will you be doing all that? Sometimes it all depends on people's payroll periods. Sometimes when they are bi-weekly, they have a little bit more time in between payrolls. You got weekly people who, man, it's just a jam. And so you just got to figure out when you're going to do all that stuff. So that's pretty much the year-end planning items. I did want to say one more thing. So when Scissortail or Kronos releases and lets you know when the updates are done, you'll get like a communicator notification that pops up on your screen when you go into Scissortail. So keep that in mind. You'll probably be seeing that coming up. And so you'll know when your system's been updated and everything like that. And for the people who came from HRMS or ABRA, I mean, it just makes life a whole lot easier. We don't have to worry about updates, or you don't have to worry about updates. And you'll get updated automatically. Don't have to worry about the system per se. Don't have to worry about the new rates and the new wage bases. That'll get updated. So that's good stuff. All right, so now this little green button up here will take us back to the home task list. And so we'll go back there and we'll start. So year-end forms. So now we're starting to set up and prepare. Basically, the ones that are recommended for Scissortail are the 4 up. So it's the blank ones with the perforations, with pre-printed instructions and stuff. So they're the ones that that you would use for your year-end forms in Scissortail if printing those out. You also have a blank seal form if you guys are into that. And then here's a link for going out and ordering those. Did I have a link up at the top, or is it? Yep, there's a link right there. So these two links will be what you need. And let's see, pop one over here real quick. So basically it brings you out here and it'll show you your the one that you need. And so in ordering your W-2s and stuff, we always recommend 1.5 times the amount of people you had work that year. Some may go up to 2 times the amount of W-2s. That's for if you have testing or if you had a printer jam, you would be well prepared to handle some of the extra W-2s that you might need to get the job done. So anyway, that's pretty much where you would go to order your W-2s. And there's some additional information in here. And then also from there, you can also order, I guess, envelopes from that company. I guess there's multiple envelopes you can purchase. And then also, and Rhonda, you can jump in here if you need to, 1095s and envelopes that you'll need to, when you print out your 1094s.
So those we can print from the PDF, and we don't really need to order the 1095 forms.
Okay.
Completely up to the client.
And all that's regular envelopes or anything special there?
As far as envelopes go, you would just, if you're printing on regular paper, you'd use regular envelopes.
Okay. All right, so that's our forms part. And so we'll drop back. And so now we'll move into how do I configure the W-2 and 1099 print operations. So we have a couple ways here to get to. So this is where we'll start using Scissortail. All right, that'll work. So now we are in the our demo company, and so we'll go look at how do we configure the W-2s and stuff. So basically, we want to go to, now sometimes there's multiple ways to get places, and so I may choose a way to go, but I'll try to follow pretty much what is in the spreadsheet. You always have what is considered the hamburger here. Other people have their own names for it. They actually name the hamburger to be like a Big Mac or something. But anyway, we always usually call it a hamburger. And once we go in the hamburger, you can see there's a search thing here. And we can use that to actually search for places that we want to go. If we don't know, if that's the easiest way or that's the preferred way, or if we just want to go find it ourselves here. So basically we would go to company settings and then global setup here. And then we're going to go to the company setup. And then once in here, once again, we're looking, where do I configure my W-2 and 1099s at? So we come into the company setup and you're on you want to go to the payroll tab. I just happen to be there at this point. And then down on the right-hand side, there's printed W-2 and 1099 options, as you can see here. If you do not have these in yours, you can always go to the select columns. I'm sorry, it's not the select columns. In this case, it's the edit tabs. So you would just click on the edit tabs. And then if you didn't have this one here, you could always find it over here and then drag it onto here. And I put it in the third column because we're used to having it on the right-hand side. So then you just put it on there, you save that, and you come back, drop back one, and I realize this is going to be a lot of driving today. So, and then you get your printed W-2, 1099 options, and then you can set them up. I guess one of the big things about this will be making sure you have the correct stock and stuff. And that information is probably in our spreadsheet of what we would do there. That first part is how do you want them to come out sorted? So let me see. So right here, we would just be sorting by employee last name. So however many employees you have, they would be by employee last name, but you have other options that you can go by. So, and then you can always say, if you wanted to have sub things, then you can just put those in there. So maybe I want to do them by department, by employee last name. And so then I can do that. Or if there's some other way that you want to handle that. So, but department's always a good part. And then if there was anything additional there. So let's see. So we do letter. Then we're just going to do single W-2. And then the next thing you have is basically a thing for Pennsylvania local taxes. And you can put your local taxes on there so they go on the W-2 correctly. I'm looking for it in the spreadsheet, but I know it's down there. If you have multiples, which some, I know most of the ones I do for Pennsylvania always have two. So LST and EIT or something like that. But so the Pennsylvania locals, if you have to add another one, you just hit the little plus sign up. And then you can add a second one on there as well. And so you would just put the Pennsylvania code in there and go from there. So you can truncate the employee social security number on the W-2s now. So that would be a box you might want to check if you were going to do that. And then you also have the thing down below, 1099. And I don't know how many of y'all have 1099s. None that I'm aware of, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. But anyway, this is where you would set up your 1099 print options. Pretty much the same as a W-2. And then down below that is the electronic consent. So if you gave the option to your employees to do electronic consent to not get a printed out copy of the W-2 and just get it from inside Scissortail as they sign in, this is where you would enable it, and then also type whatever you want to put in there for the box text. And so then that's probably the one that we go with.
Jim,
but yep.
As far as that box text goes, we've pulled that off of some IRS verbiage. So I would suggest to keep it that way unless they have something specific they want to add to it. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, makes sense. Go with what the government tells you. That's right. You kind of stay out of trouble that way, I think. So yes, thanks, Rhonda. That's good to know that that's where that came from. So that's probably a good place to, or good text to keep. So
can I interject something else while we're here? Is that I've had people ask me in the past if they do if an employee checks the electronic consent, or if they don't check the electronic consent, will they still have access to an online W-2? And the answer is yes. So electronic consent just determines whether or not they're going to get the W-2 printed for them, right? Whether or not we print a paper copy. If they say yes to electronic consent, there will be no paper copy produced unless they are a terminated employee.
Yep. You good there?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. All right. So I think we're done with those items for the W-2 1099 stuff. So we'll jump back now. And my resolution's always things, so I always come in a lot smaller than it was. So, all right. So we will go back to our home task. And the next thing we're going to talk about is delivering policies for your 1099s. So basically, for the ones that you're going to print out and have sent to you to do that, where do we have to go to handle that? So, all right. So in the spreadsheet, basically, we're back into admin area here with the gear. And then we'll go down to, I don't know why I never scrunch back up, but profiles and policies. And then we'll come down to deliver. And so in here, you can see we have a W-2 already set up. I think it shows you how to do it in your spreadsheet. So bottom line is if the W-2 was not here for delivery, we would just go up here to new delivery policy, and then we can choose what we wanted. We would have chose W-2, said OK, and it would have set it up for us. And then inside the delivering policy, all this would be good. This is the big part here, which is where do I want it to be sent? So it's going to, obviously be you guys, but to who do we want that? To payroll or whatever else. So for instance, there's another place where you can set up these delivery destinations, and you would set those up accordingly and with how many emails and stuff you want it on there. And I can show you that here in a second. So we want to make sure, and whoever that goes to, it doesn't have to be one person, because your destination can include multiple people. So you just have to be aware of that too if you don't want to send it to somebody and you've been using it with multiple people and you just want to send it to one person to be responsible for that. Just keep that in mind. The other thing here is settings. Going back to the electronic consent, skip the employees with electronic consent. You can say yes or no there. And then employer copies, do you want those printed or not as well? So, okay, so one of the things that, and I'll show you now how we can use our hamburger and then quick search, is if you type in deliver, you can see we have one for delivery, which is that's where we were just at. And then we also have delivery destinations. And the delivery destinations is where I said you can come in here and set stuff up. So most of the time when we look at these, we usually set up one that is probably called payroll. Yep, my keys are sticking today. And so payroll, and then let's see what we got here. So then we would say email. And then inside here, you would choose if there's anything you want here. Normally we choose like company name and document names and put them in here, but we would also fill out this information. I don't know if it'll let me save it. There's probably required stuff. I just saw that. So we'll jump out of here. And we'll just go into, I guess we can go into this one here. And you can see how it's set up. So for instance, this is email reports. This could be as easily, could be payroll, could be HR. And then down here, what you would do is choose how many emails are you sending to. And in this case, we have it going to Brandy and also to Rhonda. So we have those two in there. So now when we go back to the delivery policies, we can choose email reports to Brandy, and it would also go to Brandy and Rhonda. And then this is the way we would pretty much set up the rest of it. So just to give you an idea about the delivery destinations, and so that take care of that part. So not sure if we have anything else on here that we need to talk about for delivery. As you saw on that one, Brandy actually has one for a printer. Also have 1099 delivery policies. So being in here, we can also do the 1099 if you had that, so, which is right there. All right. So I think we're going to back out here. Go back to our home task list. I'm trying to remember to bring it back up. So we're going to go back. And so our next thing is, how do I enable and set up the electronic consent for W-2s? I guess I just went over that and Rhonda chimed in. I got ahead of the game. Is that right?
Sorry.
No, not you. I did that. I'm the one who brought it up when we were in there. But anyway, you do have that there. And so you can see the information down here where you would select the box. And then down below that, we don't necessarily need to go, let's see, enable the employee access. Let's do that one, I guess. I thought it was the employee, but so basically, once again, hamburger, year, and then we're going to profile and policies again. What am I doing here? Okay, security. I'm going to choose security. And then inside here, you have several things that you can see that there's people attached to. And depending on if you want for them to see the W-2s, so you might have to do it to all those. But if you come in here and you go to the ESS tab, let's see, somewhere in here is going to be My W-2s. I'm assuming that's it, right, Rhonda? Guess I could look down on the sheet. Yep, My W-2s. So if you're not already turned on to view, I guess that's the only one you have is to view it, and then I guess you can print it. And then you can see the W-4 stuff underneath has a little bit more additional option that you can select. But anyway, that's something, different. I'm just saying it. Stay in between the ditches. Okay. So that's our security on making sure that the employees can see their W-2. And then I guess it probably tells you about the employees to see their W-2, which is basically as they're in they log into their system, they can go to their pay, which is called My Pay, go to forms, and go to the W-2. So that's how they would retrieve that W-2 from basically the ESS part of Scissortail. We're doing all right on questions? Everybody all right?
Don't have any questions in the chat.
Okay. All right, we'll back out of that. And then we'll look what we got next. All right, now we're moving along. So let me keep track of the time here, 10:48. All right, we're still within our first hour. And next we're going to see how to verify the company tax EINs and rates. And this one, I definitely have to pay attention to the spreadsheet, not because I don't know how, but because I'll go off. And so anyway, back to the hamburger gear, and we're going to choose payroll setup, and then we're going to go into company taxes. And we do have multiple states in here, so that's a good thing, because one of the things you want to make sure about, not only your EIN number, but also your experience factor stuff. So let's see what we're first to look at. So we got in there. Okay, I'm right on. So there's a couple fields we want to look at. So like if we go into a state, I want to look at some of this stuff to see about EIN numbers. And then I also want to make sure that I have the right experience factor. Now, you've probably been operating at the experience factor all year, but it's good to check it out. And then also you can always add a new one in there for the upcoming 2022 year, just by hitting the add button and making sure that your date is correct. So probably like 1/1/2022, and then you can put in a new rate. So, oh, I went in Alabama and not UI. My bad, sorry. But anyway, that's pretty much the place that it's going to be. So what we would do is we would come over here to select columns, and then you have this little magnifying glass, and we would type rate. And then we have some rates here, and I probably would just, it's probably just going to be percentage, but I would put both of those on there. And then let's see what we have for EIN. Typing is poor today. I'm not here to surprise anybody. It's poor every day. But anyway, so here we go. So as you can see over on your right-hand side, it's pulling current rates. And so if you went down to like SUTA numbers, now there's, you know, for Arkansas and California and Florida, you know, we just have them in there for examples and stuff, but that's how you would see it. Also, I'm not sure unless that changed. I don't know if that's right, but. And then your EIN numbers to make sure your EIN numbers are right. And if you have applied for any, you'll know that you still need to go in there and correct those. So that's pretty much how to verify the rates. So pretty handy, just to make sure your numbers are right. So we will back out of that. And let me see if I can get away with one time without bringing the spreadsheet up. How do I verify earnings and deduction codes, and if they're reporting to the proper W-2 box? So once again, we can go to the hamburger and payroll setup. Now, you're going to do it for earnings and you're going to do it for deductions. So we'll start off looking at the earnings part of it. And so as we come in here, normally you would think about going into regular. So what we're talking about here is this tax forms deal. So is it going to the W-2, and then what box should we set that up in? So you have to keep in mind for, you know, your fringes, group term life, you know, such as the regular stuff, wages and tips. What else do we have on there that you normally see? So there's some stuff we'll probably see more when we get to the deduction part of it. But anyway, that's it. But I think, and let me turn this on, that we can do a thing to bring stuff up on the let's see. So in here, what we'll do is we'll go to select columns so we can view a lot of information. Now this one's pretty easy because all you got to do is type in W-2 and then we'll bring those over. And then you can see that they have now gotten on there, and we'll select them. And I don't have anything in them. Oh, that's for box 14. All right. Oh, that's it for extra, ain't it? I think I went down too far on the spreadsheet. So it should be a 1099 box type and W-2 type. Did I already have them on? I did. There they are. So I had already put them on. So when you would have done the W-2, you would have gotten all the W-2s, which would have probably been about 5 or 6 of the codes. So this basically tells you what you have them set up under for the type. And then over here, box 2, type 2, but that pretty much tells you where it's going: base comp, group term life, and if you had one paying on fringes, that kind of thing, there would be one for that as well. So I think I got a little ahead of myself on that one. Okay. So then I think this is probably like the best way to do it, but if you ever got into it, we're just going to check them by themselves. Now, this you can do for every report. So now I'm going to find out maybe not this one. Oh, we're back to security profiles. I was like, man, slow it down. So this is basically like for any reports that you have, that if you ever want to, I guess security is not allowing me to select that. Anyway, you would have a box over here and you would do all, and then you would just say view selected. I didn't check that out on the demo stuff. So, but if you do view selected, then the first one comes up and then you go in line, and all you got to do is hit the little arrow going to the next one. And so it goes a little faster than going in and out of each one of these. And that's for anything you're doing. If you're ever doing something where you want to update 5 people, go choose those 5 people and you can go through it that way. And the other neat thing about this is that even though we're in earning codes now, we can always go to view deduction codes from directly inside it. So here I also had the W-2 box type on it. We would also have to add those select columns for the other W-2 stuff in here as well. But you can see stuff like 401k contributions, the Roth contribution, the medical for the box 12 DD. Over the last couple of years, having to make sure we get that right. And so that's what we're looking for. Make sure your stuff is set up properly. And you can go do that now. Go check it out. If they need to be fixed, do it. And so that way we can handle that one. So, all right, so that's pretty much how to verify the taxes for stuff that we want to look at for year end. How do we verify the earnings, and how do we verify the deductions? And let me scoot back here. So we just finished up, and I'll bring this up here. We just finished up here, and so maybe this is a good time. Well, we'll say this, we'll get this out of the way. So I'm not really going to speak much about benefits and deductions, because most people probably have gone through that already with open enrollment type stuff. If you do have a question or anything about it, after reading the information that's attached there on how to set up a new benefit and for open enrollment and how to create a new benefit plan, submit your questions to us or give us a call or whatever. But I wanted to spend more time on the balancing aspect of year-end and Scissortail. So we'll do the next section here, which is review employee data. So this is a good time of year to check out things for spelling of employee names, social security numbers, 1099s. If you have any of that stuff, you can look at that. Let me see here. I was going to show, might have to show it when we come back from break, but I know I have it. But it's basically how you can look at all right, I'll show you after break. So bottom line is, how do we check social security numbers to make sure that there's no, what we already know would be incorrect. So any that are set up with like all ones, any that start with a 9, any that go, that kind of thing. So I'll make sure we go back and look at that when we come back. So, all right. So I think I have 10:58. So how about we take a 10-minute break here? Then we'll come back and we'll finish up all the balancing aspect of Scissortail, and then we'll take a smaller break, and then Rhonda will do ACA. So hope everybody's good with that, but 10-minute break. So come back about 10:08 or so. I had to do that calculation in my mind on the East Coast. So anyway, we'll see you back here, 10:08.
This conference will now be recorded.
Why does she always record when I get ready to say something? I was going to say 10 minutes. I didn't have enough time to get down to the diner and get my chicken fried steak and back. So
I thought you ordered it.
that would be a good idea. I need to do that next time. All right, let's Rhonda, you let me know when we're ready to go. If you can tell if people are back, I'll mute, off mute. You want to do a hand raise or whatever?
I think everybody's muted, so I don't know. Stephanie Pearson is here. She said so in the chat.
All right. You understand, I'm in a room all by myself speaking, and I don't have any, hello, is everybody out there? Heather, thank you.
Heather's here, yay. Oh, here's Nicole. Look at
Nicole's
this.
here.
Stephanie started a trend.
Thank you.
I'm here.
Hey, Brady.
Howdy.
I think you got the crowd returning for a second act. Amy says she's here. She just forgot to take it off of private messaging.
Well, everybody knows I'm just a warm-up act for Rhonda. So I'm trying to do a good job. To
all the song and dance that comes with the ACA. It's exciting, let me tell you.
Before I left Oklahoma, I was in a place and met a comedian, and he's been on tour for years. I guess he's well known. And I didn't realize opening acts how important they were. I just assumed it was a guy. I knew they kind of came in to get the crowd a little bit, but evidently it's very important, and you can get fired for not being a good opening act. But it was just funny to hear that the emphasis is put on a person like that. So, but anyway, I guess we're back, and I guess we're ready to go. So one of the things I was going to show you here was that we'll go to the team now, which is the 2 people, and we're going to go to payroll. And I don't think this is in our notes, but I'm just throwing it out there. Go to forms, go to W-2s. Now it'll probably be in the notes somewhere, but for what I'm showing, I don't think that's in there. So for instance, here we can go and we can add a column. And I usually don't get this one right. There we go. Now, how do I get Social Security number? I always get it wrong in that box. I've got to go look for it.
It's SS. Just do SS number.
SS number?
Uh-huh.
No, with the hashtag.
No, yeah, the number sign.
There you go.
Gotcha. See, I got Brandy to speak today.
We were all
This is
waiting
not
for
on-
it.
Winner, winner, chicken dinner.
So Social Security number, and I'm just going to move it up a little bit here. So basically, you can do stuff on it, and you can do it from other places. Don't misunderstand me. This isn't the only place you can do it. You can do it from the employee's profile, but this is just the thing about W-2s. If you happen to be in there looking at the numbers, and you just do it. So you can always do like, and just put a 9 in there. See what shows up. I'm not sure what that's all about, but I would have expected to get nothing. How about starts with? Hey, there you go. So for instance, I guess Social Security numbers don't start off with a 9, so there's nothing between 900 and 999. So if you do that, you can tell that there's none of those in there. Evidently, I won't respond to this one, but I guess there's none of these in there. Come on now. There's none of these in here. I guess there's no 3 zeros. And then you always have where you might want to check like the 1 stuff. So maybe a 111, see if you have any. Now, of course, we have some obviously fake stuff in our demo, but what we're looking for is if there was any 111, 11, 1111, make sure that there's nothing like that going on. Or, if you wanted to do the 1, 2, just to see that there's no weird stuff going on in your W-2s. The other thing is, and I might need help from Brandy or Rhonda, is that there could be a difference between the demographics of the individual with an address who had it changed during the year and what's on their W-2s. And if there is, you can always research and look in there, but you can recalculate your W-2s and it'll bring the address back up to what the demographic stuff is. Does that sound right, Brandy and Rhonda?
I'm deferring to Brandy, but I believe that is correct. It'll bring in your current information.
I put you on the hot seat, but the reason I brought that one up is obviously we don't want any wrong addresses going out. So that one. So, all right, that was the little stuff I was going to give you before the break. And so now, let's see where we're going. Now, this is where I have to go slow and everything because I can get out of control when it comes to balancing stuff. All right, so we're going to start with balancing. Where do you see address changes? You can compare, you can create a report, or just like we did. And you, let me see, let me go back. So I'm on my W-2s. If I don't get this right, Amy, I will make sure that I get you the information. But it's something about choosing the address that's on the W-2 and then the employee address. I know employee address 1 is the one you're going to match it to. And let's see.
I think there's a report, Jim, on the W-2 up at, you can finish out your thought there, if you want to. And then I think up at the top, there's a saved.
Yeah, I might not, but to me, there's a W-2 address, and then you compare it to like, where did my address go to over here?
You
All right.
you have your filter turned on for name.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, so I thought there was an address in here for the W-2, and then you compare it to which this one would be, I thought, and maybe I got them reversed, but that you would compare the two addresses and you can see what was different. So, all right, Brandy, you want to walk me through that again? I'm sorry.
Look up at the top where it says system, on the left-hand side where saved system, where you can pick the different versions of the report. Down just a little bit, right there.
Yep.
And there should be a W-2 address audit.
I'm trying to create something that was already there. See that?
Yeah. And so there's multiple audits that are in here that are listed. And this
I'll
is
do
one
the
of
drop
them.
down again. Yep. So they're wages. We'll talk more about those, but we'll probably create our own stuff, but you can always use those.
And later on in the process, it's really honestly not something you need to worry about, because right before we get ready to do W-2s, there's a place where we go recalculate the W-2s and it'll refresh the addresses at that point. So
yep.
Not something you really need to worry about. But then, Amy, if you wanted to see address changes, the other place you could see them is you could go to the audit trail and do an audit trail report for any changes in the address if you wanted to see audit address changes.
All right. So yeah, the recalculate does it, but see, I went over in a ditch. Stay in the middle of the road.
Exactly, stay between the ditches.
All right, so we're going to touch on balancing now. And so I know we're coming up on year end and everything, but pretty much everything that we say in this can be done anytime during a year, especially quarter ends, of course, the year end. But you can do it anytime you want just to make sure everything's going well for you. So just keeping in mind that you can run these reports. Not only that, but just the reports that you run currently for every payroll, you can always look at those with your, payroll register and hand calculated taxable wages. We'll get into that. And then also the wage detail report. We'll talk about that coming up here because that's one of the things that we'll look at for that. So you'll see that stuff is on here multiple times. We're only going to go over it once. And everybody just said, yes. Okay. So, but you see it on here because you can see it basically prior to quarter or quarter end or year end, and then during year end, just to make sure everything's still going well. And then you have your final processing that you could do it. Obviously, you would want to do it again, make sure just before you close out the year and stuff of that sort. So, all right. So first thing we're going to do is how to audit balance employees W-2 for totals and accuracy. So we're going to click on that one. So let's see, we'll cruise down here a little bit. So we know we're going to go look at team payroll forms W-2, which is where I'm at already. See that? I might have went in the ditch. Hey, look, here's all our audit stuff. So basically, I might have already went over some of this stuff. I know you can't see what I'm looking at, but if you're scrolling down in the spreadsheet, it's talking about the Social Security wages over wage base, federal wages and stuff that we just looked at because we went off on Jim's tangent, but that was still the place that it was. So remember this up here. So that's part of that. And let's see, what else are we looking to do here? W-2 audit, multiple wage hikes. Man, I feel like I'm lost, and I knew which one this was doing.
Jim, the key thing I'll just kind of point out here is when you come into the screen, the first thing I would do is just check what year you're looking at. Because if you save a view, it'll be looking at it could be looking at last year. So just always check the tax year up at the top. And then these reports are just built to help you look for problems with the W-2s. Like it says, like if there's FICA wages over the wage base, if you pick like that one, Jim, can you pull that one up for me under your saved? OASDI wages are
over to max.
Do the one right below it. Wages are over the wage base. We probably don't have anybody, but a key thing to note there is it does have the wage base for the last year. So if you may need to update that as years go by, and then you can just save a copy as you make changes, but just so you can see what it's filtering on. So it's looking for things like that so you can make sure everything looks good on your W-2s. So there's that one. Jim, you want to pull up we can go down through them if you want to walk down through them, and we can just kind of talk about each one. Federal wages on W-2 are 0. So if anybody has 0 for their federal withholding, just want you to double check because they might be marked exempt or something like that. May just need to review that.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's always good to know if you have any of that going on. Let's see.
That one, taxes over max. This is another one where you may have to scroll over just a little bit, Jim, to see the where it's got the number in. So it has the total amount of Social Security taxes that are supposed to be withheld, and so anything over that. And once again, we're dealing with demo data, so we probably don't have anybody over these. There's also one for you may have to go down. Can you click down where it says shared views? And there may be more. Yeah, see, click more there because there's a bunch of them. Yeah, there's another one there. But there's a list of all of them. So if you needed to come look at them, all of them at once, there they are. And those are the same ones listed in the Excel document.
And then one other is if you're doing it from the system default and you wanted to view these by state, right?
Yes.
So here you can see the Alabama people are at the top, and Oklahoma, and then you can always sort those, I guess. There you go. There's your Alabama, California, Georgia. You can sort by the state. I'm trying to think of what else is on this for that part that we're in. So basically, it was going through all those reports.
Yeah, just reports to help you look for these things rather than you having to write your own. We just put them all in there just to make it quicker and easier. Some of them, like there's one that says audit box 1 to 16, where it compares the wages in 1 and 16. We have a few clients that have employees that move locations, that move locations every pay period or every couple of pay periods, and they can't use this report. So some of these reports may work for you, some may not, depending on your employees and your circumstances.
Oh, I didn't want to go there, but there we go.
So like if you have a bunch of Texas employees, of course your box 1 won't match your box 16, which is state wages versus federal wages.
All right, so then we get into, so that was checking the W-2s and the different ways that you can check them of what Brandy described. Now we're going to get into subject wages, how to balance to the subject wages. So we'll click on that one. This is probably the one I thought we were going to. I'm going to lose my job as opening act. All right, so from here we're going to go company settings, and then down at the bottom should be system data export. We're going to click on there. We're going to have some data, system data exports. And so then in here, and the one that we want to talk about is this one that you may already have set up. If not, you can come over here to the new data report. And let's see, it'll be in here. It'll be in there
Jim,
somewhere.
Everybody should have it because we put it in the model company, so it's on every client.
Okay. And so anyway, the payroll summary by employee report, we'll check out how to run it and see what it looks like inside. So this is how the export is set up. You can see we have some fields over here, but then we also have additional ones because you probably always want to make sure that all these boxes under extra settings are checked off. And so we have them all checked off except for this one right here, but the rest, and we'll see what that does for us. Other things to look at in here, basically you can have this run at different times and be sent to you, I believe, deliver time-based, deliver with payroll, but you can actually run it to be, a specific payroll. This is calendar range is the one I want, because you can do the last quarter. And then, of course, from there, just like any of the other reports that you have going in Scissortail, these are your options when you use calendar range. You can always use date range, but the calendar range, when you set up to deliver, is probably almost like your best bet as far as, get off of there, last quarter, and this year, whatever you want it to do. So let's see. Always include the finalized payrolls. And then, of course, the scheduled settings, like I said, deliver time-based. When do you want it delivered? This is the one where you can deliver it on a particular day of the week. And make sure you have your delivery destinations, which we talked about before. Where do I want it to go? And so we can always make this, a weekday and have it mail out every Monday at a particular time. You can always, we'll take that off. We can always deliver with payroll. We're not sure if I've ever, well, that's basically what it would do. So when do you want it to be delivered? Every pay, every scheduled pay, that kind of thing. So, but that's how the report is set up to run.
Jim,
Yep.
can I interrupt you for a second? Just want to point out one key thing is if CS3 handles your taxes, if we do your tax filings for you and those type of things, we do this every week. You can ask Kathy Antle. I know she's on here. This is one of her jobs that she does every week is we kick this report out and we balance everybody's taxable wages each week just to make sure we find things quickly when we have problems. So if you get an email from Kathy and she's like, hey, I found this problem, you'll at least know why, because she checks weekly what's going on to make sure we don't run into any issues at the end of the quarter. So we do want to encourage you that if you want to do this and want to double check, you know how it is. It never hurts for anybody to double check to make sure things look good. But I wanted you to all have that assurance. If we don't handle your taxes, I'm thinking like Shawnee in particular, I know we don't handle your taxes. You guys would want to do this. And I know we have this automated for you already that it sends to you now. So.
I wanted to get the report up for you while you were talking about it, but I didn't get it done.
Understood.
Well, this is interesting. I changed the thing and it won't.
Can you switch it back to calendar and do last quarter or something like that, or do this year? Or you can do that. Yep.
You think we'll have something in there? Oh yeah, we can do this year.
Yeah, you should. Rhonda runs payrolls in our demo company each month. So.
Well, when we're talking about year balancing and stuff, this was the way to go with it. But obviously you can run it for any period of time that you want. So that works. And then we'll export it out. And we'll just open that up. And then I will bring it up for everyone to see.
Ooh, is it balanced?
Boy, that doesn't look right, Jim. I think you may be on the wrong report.
I must be, because this is what this is one I already had open. This is what I'm looking for.
Yeah, close that one and let's go back, because that one's a compare current pay period to last pay period. There you go. That looks right.
But this is a previous one, so I just made a mistake. And when we get back there, we'll see what I did wrong. It's like a game. It's like Find Waldo. Where's Jim going to make the mistake at? And I knew we were wrong because we only had like up to column H, and I knew this baby went way out. So this is a report that you can export, and you can see that you have the different columns for different things, hours versus, with amounts and stuff of that sort. Let's see, what am I looking for? Here's your overtime stuff. I'm sure we have a gross one in here somewhere, don't we?
I don't think so. I think there's just regular overtime, special earnings, and then deductions are lumped into standard and 125, and then there's a couple other categories depending on the company, like 401k and things like that. So it depends on what earnings and deductions you have, which columns you would have.
Gotcha. I guess I'm a little confused because I thought this was the one you do like a calculation at the end. You add your columns on.
Yeah, you just have to add things together. It doesn't give you a total gross. So you have to add like the bonus, the overtime, the regular. You wouldn't add reimbursement on this one, and then you can see the deductions start next. So earnings are kind of first, in column J through O, and then it looks like deductions start in P and then over in W. No, sorry, and then in V. Nope.
Yeah. Well, what we were getting at was basically at the end, you can actually do a thing to figure out if your taxes are right or not.
I
Just like
usually
doing
put it
a
right
column.
at the beginning, Jim.
Oh, at
I
the
can't
beginning?
remember if I might need to update this document because we started just putting it right at the beginning. That way, most of the stuff you need is kind of over to the left. So I usually add in some columns, and then I use those to do my calculations.
Okay. I'm just going to add a couple to we'll get the idea of what's going on here.
Okay.
Live entertainment. So anyway, you could have taxable earnings, right? And I probably need to shorten up just so I don't. All right, Jim, slow it down. So we would put in like taxable earnings. Then you would also have your like 125s. And then you would have like your 401k type stuff. And then you can start doing your wages and things, right? So if you wanted to do Medicare, you would do your tax earnings minus your 125s and put them in this right here. And then when you want to do, that would be pretty much federal and social. Okay. Up until, limit on social. And then over here you would have federal. And then if you wanted to do state stuff, if you have multiple states, you can combine those, get the wage bases to see if you match up. But so anyway, I'm used to doing this a whole different way. So going across instead, but anyway, taxable earnings minus 125s should give you your medical and Social Security, Medicare and Social Security numbers for wages. And then you can compare them. We'll go to another report to look at. And then if you do tax earnings minus 125s minus 401k, you'll get your federal number. Now, obviously, there's multiple ways you can do it. You can get your, med first. You can put that over here and then minus out your 401k and get your federal number. But that's basically how to do hand calculated taxable wages with the numbers that you're given here.
I do one more thing, and that is I put in 2 more columns and I compare what you would calculate in column D with what the wages actually are. Because the wages are over there that you just kind of have to scroll over and find them. But they are over there. So I usually do a difference in this column. And then I do the same kind of thing with federal. I do a difference there as well.
Because the numbers you're coming up with here are your hand calculated. You calculated it out based upon the earnings and deductions. And now Brandy's saying just to add in also the actual ones that were generated from Scissortail. And then that'll give you, man, there's just so much there.
I think I see Medicare kind of in the B area, the B. Put you over on my big screen. There's Medicare employee gross subject BA. Look in BA. I can't tell if that's it.
Subject wages.
Yeah. So that's the one you would compare it with, Medicare subject wages. And that's the employee side. And you'll see there's an employer side as well. And so I also do some comparisons between employee and employer subject wages. Kathy Andel, if you think of some others that we do on our comparisons, I think we do some comparisons between federal and state, and I know there's another one. I think we also we hand calculate what if we took the Medicare wages times the rate, make sure that the Medicare rate looks correct within a fraction. And same thing on Social Security. We check some stuff like that as well when we're doing it.
Yeah, I think you've covered it, Brandy.
Okay. So Kathy can tell you we have quite a few little magic spreadsheets that come out that help us check all these things for everybody on the tax service.
Yeah, and I really like using it pay period because like you said earlier, it identifies the issue right off the bat, and I don't even have to cross quarters with it. I can fix it that very next pay period.
Okay, so that's the system data export that'll help you out. Got to go back and see what I did wrong to get that compare one in there. I'm not sure what I did.
There's one up a couple that said compare. Hit your X there. It's like up 2 from that. Is that compare payroll, that one? I'm guessing that's the one you clicked on. Yep, that looks like it.
Where did he go wrong? But anyway, so now you can see, now you know the difference. If something small comes up, you go, hey, that's not it. Don't you remember Jim made the mistake and ran the wrong report? So there you go. Let's see. So we'll X out of there. All right, so we're done with the data export, and not to minimize the importance of that. I mean, basically that's a big deal, doing your hand calculated wages using the numbers out of the system. So kind of going back and with like ABRA and HRMS, it's pretty much you taking like a check register, and you could do the same thing in Scissortail, like I said before. Check register, take your taxable earnings, subtract out the 125s, get your Social Security, Medicare wages, subtract out the 401k. So you can do it with other reports, but this is, it has a lot more stuff on it if you wanted to do a lot more comparison, so forth and so on, but it's a good way to go.
And Jim, the benefit for me, you can do exactly what you said, where you print out the reports and you hand calculate it using your calculator and all that kind of stuff, or Excel. But then you have to go, if you find a problem, now you've got to go find the person. Whereas if you use the data export, you know which person it's on. You know who you're out on, just because you're doing this at a employee level review. And so that's why we kind of switched up how we were doing it, is because we wanted to know exactly who it was rather than having to go look for them. So that's part of the reason we made that change to doing the balancing more like this. But I think Kathy and I both can speak to the fact that we rarely have problems. Most clients don't ever have a balancing problem. Most things are pretty good because Scissortail does a good job. When you set up the deductions, you have to tell it you're doing a 125 or a standard deduction. And so it knows how to handle the taxes for you. So we have a lot less issues. Where we have problems, and I think, Kathy, you can speak to this, is when we have people that have, like maybe an employee's getting a lower number of hours for that payroll, so their check is short, and the deductions are higher than their earnings. That's when we see problems pop up, because it'll not treat something as a pre-tax since it didn't have wages for it. So we tend to see things there. We have a couple of clients where we have issues with this, but honestly, very few. It's mainly one client we have that has a lot of issues, and we actually check them each pay period to make sure that their payroll's looking right, because they have such a volatile employee force on moving around and stuff. Kathy, can you think of anything else where we see issues on that balancing?
No, it's generally just that they don't have the earnings that covers the 125s or the deductions.
Or 401k.
Yeah, and so you're spot on.
Okay. And so then what we end up doing is going in and making an adjustment entry on those when we find them. And like I said, we mainly have this on one client, and they have it every pay period. I think we've seen it once or twice on CANC, and I can't think of anybody else that's had it.
That's the only two that I can think of.
So it's a pretty rare issue that we see a problem where we find something wrong on balancing. But once again, if we find something, you guys will know about it because we communicate those to you if we find something.
Now, Brandy, didn't you set up a notification on all of the client accounts that if this happens, they'll see it during the payroll?
Yes. CNC doesn't get it, and there's a reason because they have so many EINs that there's a issue with using it there. But once again, we do have an alert so that we try to catch it during payroll. So if you guys ever get an alert that says something about pre-tax deductions on the alert, and to contact support, that's what it's about. So we try to catch these at payroll time versus waiting till after you post it and then having to go back and make an adjustment, because we'd much rather the payroll come out correct the first time. So this, like I said, it's very seldom for us. So I wanted to stress that. But it is something we watch for. But you're right, Rhonda, we do have that alert in. Does anybody have questions on the balancing piece, or is unclear about who handles, who doesn't handle, what, anything where you have questions on this before we move on?
Is that a cricket I heard?
I heard a cricket, so I'm going to take that as good. Jim, I'll hand it back to you and be quiet.
No, that's good. Brandy will correct me if I used the wrong word here, but that's good dialogue. Did I use the right word?
Look at you, and then we got
Very
it on
good.
everything.
All right, where are we going next? All right, so now we're going to go look at one of the reports, like I said, that I use and stuff, is the tax wage details. Now, Kathy and Brandy do this stuff all the time for the year end, quarter end stuff. So I don't get to do it that much, or, like that frequent. So, and how like year end, just, it's amazing how much stuff you kind of, and then you get the year end, go, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what's up. But luckily, it's the same as doing quarters with just a little bit of changes. So, all right. So you have a thing here for tax wage details, tax. So that's what we're going to look at first. And so we go back to team, and then payroll, and then reports at the bottom. And you could have this already saved, like in your saved reports as well, but this is just where I'm going with it. So under taxes, tax wage details, and you might have one already customized for what you need it for, but basically this is it. Obviously, you always want to make sure you put your date and stuff on there, whatever you need to get the correct data in there. So basically, this is the report comes up. We can split the federals out from the states. You can do state stuff too, as far as groupings. See what else they want to cover on this. So the big thing, there's a lot of columns on here. So usually a lot of what I use, obviously, is the amount columns. Gross wages is good to look at. You also have subject wages, basically taking out, I guess, reimbursement type stuff. Then the big one, like the subject wages. So when you look at this report, going back and you think about ABRA, if you were on ABRA, HRMS, if you were on HRMS, these are kind of like payroll deposit requirements out of ABRA and tax calculation analysis out of HRMS. It just has more information on it. As you can see towards the end here, they have stuff on there for like excess wages, but you can take all that off if that's not something. But big one here, subject wages, that's the one you'll see like on what you used to see on tax calculation analysis, basically giving you what's the bottom wage for the calculation of the amount. So let's see, I think I'm supposed to put some more columns on here for year end, if I can find them.
Jim, if I could interject a second, I also use this for just one employee. Like if I'm doing something, trying to figure out a tax situation with one employee, and I go in and make my updates in Scissortail, then I come over here and run this report and include, take off the finalized payrolls only, and I can double check my totals, updated all my taxables exactly like I planned.
Yeah, that's a good point, Kathy. So like once you put in your adjustment, you created your payroll, you put in that adjustment, you can come in here and, like she said, turn off the finalized option and see what the numbers are going to be with your adjustment so that you can make sure everything is created correctly. That right there, that box. And so you can do that before you close or finalize. So that makes checking what your adjustments are really easy. That's a good expert tip, Kathy.
Oh, thank you.
I'm sensing I'm going to get an invoice after this.
Yep.
If I pay you, Kathy, you got to make sure you take the taxes out. All right. So I know
payroll taxes.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, Kathy can figure payroll taxes in her head.
Only up to 2 digits.
Somebody may have to help me here. I know I ran this report to balance to wages and stuff. Is that going to the W-2s?
Yeah, that's the intention on this one, is we're going to run this report and compare it against our W-2s for the year.
Okay. Because I keep flip-flopping in my scroll bar and I can't get to where I want to see what I'm doing. So add, remove columns. We knew how to do that. I guess it's asking me to put the boxes on there, right?
I think you're down just a little too far. I think it's showing you the taxable wages, and then you just want to take that report and now you're going to compare it against the W-2. So I don't know if you want to kick it out to PDF or Excel, or you just want to switch it to year to date is the only main thing I could think of there.
Oh, this one right here?
Yeah. Since we're doing W-2s this year, yeah.
Yep. All right, so that's how we would, like she said, we can always export this out as well, just by using the export button and then putting it to whatever it is you want to. Most likely you're going to want to do Excel, so we would just choose that. I'm trying to think if there's anything on that report else that we could say. And then I guess this is just, like you said, going to bounce back to our other reports that we did.
Yeah, I will say Scissortail's more like HRMS than Abra, about just having one table that you don't have to make sure things aren't missing from tables like you did back in the old Abra days, because things are just in one table. So if you find an issue, you just have to fix it in it, and so you're comparing these things just to make sure things look good. But we normally don't find an issue with this either, because it all comes from the same table.
Yeah, I think I figured out what it was. So to run this report, so that you could go back and do the discard. Let's see, payroll forms, W-2, so that you can compare it to the W-2s. So that's what threw me off. So we had already been into this report, but now we're coming back to it in regards to, and then we talked about adding different columns on the here, and then so we can compare all those numbers together. I think I got that worked out. That's what we were doing there.
Hey, and Jim, there's a W-2 summary report also. If you can just look up in the hamburger, if you can search up there. I think it's pretty useful for like doing what we're talking about here. Just take summary off. It may have an S after it or something. I may be not one more backup. There you go. There it is. Top one.
It's not being kind to me. All right.
So that just gives you the totals rather than having to scroll down to the bottom of the page to see what the totals are. It just gives you like that summary level. And it's the same as the W-2 report where you can add as many columns on as you want. In the add remove columns area. So just does the exact same thing, just a summary of the other one.
So that all that's pretty much the balancing part of it, reports that you can use to balance. And so but once you get into a flow of it, and if you have some of them sent to you, you know, makes life easier and makes the balancing quicker. If you do it outside of just year end, quarter end, you want to do it anytime just to make sure everything's going okay. So we're going to touch on a thing next called testing your benefit accruals for the new year, just to make sure your benefit accrual calculations are accurate. Let's see if I can get to this one.
Jim, before you move on to that, can we do one more thing in W-2s? I just want to make sure everybody sees it and knows about it. It's listed on that sheet on the balanced taxable wage detail W-2 tab. There's a button to recalculate your W-2. So Jim, if you'll go under the hamburger icon, payroll, quarter end, quarter year end process. There's one for company tax years. And then there's a button here to if you open up like the Q4 one, let's see. There. Yep. And so there's a button there where you can see that recalculate W-2 1099, and you can see that it's got that and it's got the other two broken out. But you can just recalculate the W-2s. Go ahead and click on that one, Jim, where it says recalculate W-2s. And all it does is it goes in and recalculates and makes sure everything's good. And one of the things it does there is it makes sure the addresses are up to date on the W-2s. And then you'll see down at the bottom, that's where approval for W-2s is. We handle a lot of this for clients, that we make sure we go recalculate the W-2s and stuff. But I will point out a word of caution that if you're somebody that has to make manual edits to any W-2s, you want to not recalculate W-2s, because once you do, it'll overwrite your manual adjustments. So you want to do your manual adjustments to W-2s last thing. So you want to recalculate first and then make those adjustments to the W-2s. And it's much better if we can put in an entry, do a check for it to make it calculate, so that the system calculates the W-2 rather than a manual adjustment to a W-2 if possible.
I probably missed it on that section, but we would have came across this at the end, I guess, when you're getting ready to close the year out.
Okay.
But I apologize. Yeah, we could have, and I'm good with that. But
I didn't mean to take you off target, but that's what I just was looking at these instructions. I forgot that they were probably on there second time. So we'll cover this
No,
again
that's
here in
good.
just a little bit.
No, that's good. I'll let you do it then too.
Thanks. You're so generous.
I know. I'm going to have to start sending out a bunch of checks today. So, all right. So now going back to, and probably Brandy's going to have to chime in on this one too. But anyway, how to test benefit accrual calculations. So we're just going to come up here and then team and then accruals, I think is somewhere. Let's see.
Jim, I'm super lazy. I just go up and in my hamburger icon, I type in test.
You know, you can get me on that every time because if I go look for something, yep.
I don't see it even.
Uh-oh. You think I should say accruals test?
No, test should get it. Test accounts, test payroll calc. You don't have rights to it. I'm sorry, Jim.
Well, this is the demo.
Yeah.
I didn't have rights to these before when I was trying to show this, but here, this is how you select all. You guys probably all know that already. So, and then you can do whatever.
turned this on for you when you were talking about it before.
Oh. All right, so now I have to go back to the old-fashioned way. I don't know why.
I don't.
Okay.
Yeah, try team accruals.
I'm looking for accruals.
Oh, they're not turned on. That's why you can't find it. We have accruals turned off on this
Gotcha.
demo. So hold on just a moment, Jim. Entertain everybody.
Well, I have songs to sing, but
Christmas song.
oh, it is Christmas.
I do like Christmas songs.
Everybody has lights on at their houses except for me. Why do I need to put any on? I could just walk around the neighborhood.
Are you there, Brandy? Because I'm in there.
Yeah, I got it. I'm hitting save right now. Okay. Jim, you may have to exit back out and come back in real quick of this demo BC company.
Yeah,
You may have to go to the hamburger and do, I'm sorry.
I can't believe what you're doing to me.
I know, I'm sorry. I blame Rhonda.
It's actually, hey.
I'm almost at the end, you know.
I know.
Oh, I'm having issues now.
That's funny that it wasn't turned on.
Well, that's why I blamed you.
I know.
Keep blaming each other so I can get this done. Let's see.
I think it's
What's my password?
Well, I'll point out something else while Jim's, you guys probably all see that those messages pop up, those announcements pop up for me all the time during November, December, and January. And one of them in particular is about turning off the auto run on accruals. If you're somebody that pays out accruals at the end of the year and you want to turn off the auto run, we can do that so that it doesn't do the carryover automatically. And or if you know how to turn those off, it's really easy. It's just a checkbox on the accruals, and you just have to remember to go turn it back on. I know one of you in here is asked to have them turned off, so we keep a list, and then we'll bug you again about when to turn them back on in January after you're done with what you do with accruals. But that's another thing that we frequently need to check on accruals, is just to make sure we get those turned off if there's anybody that has payouts or special things that happen at year end with the carryover. Jim, I'm running out of things to say, so you better hurry up.
I just typed in test.
Okay. We're not seeing you, so you may need to move it back.
I know. Hang on.
Okay. I'm excited.
In case anybody doesn't know, Brandy's audio, her speech goes up about 50% when she starts doing a demo or so if she would have shrunk it out for me, I would have been all right. All right, so now we got test in there. Here's our accruals test. And so basically all we're doing is, testing for the upcoming year on the accruals. I don't know how much to really talk about this other than you'll choose the rule that you're going to do. Let's see, employees, if you want to do them all, you just leave them blank. If there's somebody you want to test, you can do that. And then you'll put your dates in. Dates are going to be, relative to however you do your accruals. I guess whether they're lump sum or whether it's anniversary type stuff. So that you'll have to be picky about how you do your date ranges. And then the rest of the stuff would be how you have your plan set up already. And then all you would have to do is test it and see if it works the way that you want it to. I don't really have a whole lot to say here. Brandy or Rhonda can jump in if they have more.
I do. I would change your run to and date it out like 10 years. And that way you can see how it calculates, like see them switch seniority levels, see the carryover, how it handles. Now, don't get me wrong, it'll look funny going forward because there's not going to be any taken and stuff like that, but you can at least watch and see how it does that, how it does different things. And you can test different accrual profiles and different rules just to make sure things look good. And you'll just see it'll bring up Jim, do you want to just like pick, you can pick Josh Bronson there. You have to pick only one employee. And so do you want to pick like Josh Bronson there? Yeah. And then why don't you run him from 1/1/2021 to
Go ahead.
like 12/31/2030 or something like that. So you can get really crazy here. And why don't you just hit test up there? And so you can see how his accruals are going to roll. You'll see the carryovers happen. In this particular instance, it zeroes out after, each year, so they don't carry over anything. So just that gives you kind of a quick example. The bottom part after it says that do not adjust execution end and simple over back on his other screen, you can leave this up, Jim, it's fine. The bottom part is the way the plan is set up. This is handy if we're testing that we want to make a change to a plan. You can make changes down there on the bottom part of the screen to how the accrual works and run a test to make sure it works. And then if it works and you want to keep it, there's a button on the top right where you can save the accrual or save it as a new accrual. So if you need to make changes to a plan but you're not feeling real confident in them, you can test them out here using this test accruals calculation. I think that's all I had to say. Does anybody have any questions on this piece?
Now, I know we've always had a lot more questions than this when we did these classes in person.
Can you do a check for me? Is everybody still there?
I know Brandy Moody messaged me privately, so I know that she's there.
Nicole's here. Stephanie's here.
This is Deborah. May I make a comment?
Yes.
I'm thinking part of the reason we don't have questions is because, no offense, it seems very disorganized. And by the time you guys discuss what you're doing, I can't figure out what you're doing, because it's not just like, okay, here's what you do, hit this, here's whatever. Instead, it's a lot of back and forth between you guys about, oh no, we're in the wrong spot, where do we go now? So it's hard for me to ask a question because I'm really kind of confused. on what you're doing, because it takes a
Well,
while to get to the end result.
the good news is that's why you've got that Excel document to help you with.
Exactly, which will be very helpful. But I was just going to say that's probably why, because I don't want to ask a question because I feel like, did I miss the answer, or was it really not presented? It's a little bit confusing. But anyway, that's it.
I'm sorry that it's confusing. Jim, I did have one question that I think you could pull up for them. If you could go back up to the hamburger icon and go to admin and profiles, and then pick the accruals, policies and profiles, and go accruals, and then one more down, accruals, and then profiles. And just pull that one up. One of the questions was, how do I turn off the accruals if I don't want them to run? Do you guys see that down under the rules there's an auto run? All you have to do is uncheck that box and it will not automatically update the accruals for you. Now, if they take time off, it'll still get recorded. All that'll still happen. It just won't do any accruals. So it won't do any increases in their balance or close out the year. So that's when you ask us to turn it off, that's all we do is uncheck those auto run boxes. We still leave it visible to the employee. Does that help, Stacy?
And this would be for all accruals? Or you would have to do it for each one?
You have to do it for each one.
Okay, thank you.
You have to turn off the auto run on each one if you don't want it to close out the year on them.
So Brandy, when you want it to accrue again, you just go back and turn it back on?
You got it.
Okay.
So really easy. Like I said, all it does is it just keeps the accruals from happening and the year-end close from happening. And you'll notice once you turn it back on, it won't happen like that exact instant, but you'll see it'll take just a little bit and then it'll do the accrual in the next year. So that was a good one. I'm glad you asked that, Stacy. So really easy to handle. All right, Jim. I think that's it.
Guess we got to keep moving here because we got Rhonda coming up with ACA here in a little bit. So how to print the W-2s. Let's see, we can just go here. Let's see, my employees. I think I got it right. Yep. I'm trying to find my cursor. All right, so we've been in this screen before for other things, but in this particular case, if we clicked on someone, this is how you would print your W-2s. So you might be able to do them all, select all, and then you would hit your deliver button. And then this would show, where did you want them to go to be sent to, yourself or someone else to do it, and the export type. So,
Jim, the other thing they can do is they can use the download button there also. I know the instructions say exactly what you just said. So.
Yeah, I don't.
And when you do download, you can tell it what you want exactly, which form you're wanting.
So it's this one right here, probably, right?
You got it.
One employee. Yep.
And then you can download the PDF, and that'll download it directly to your machine instead of having to email it.
All right, let's see what we got next. We're coming up to the end here. I seem, I guess, limping along. Okay, I guess we're at the, so we bypassed a lot of stuff because it's stuff that we've already done. So we're probably down on rows around 63 for the year-end processing now. And basically, Brandy already took us here. Let's see. Quarter end processes. So under team, quarter end processes, and company tax years, or is it? Yeah, this is this one. Make sure you got the right year in there, or it'll be on here. Make sure you choose the right one. And we saw this for 2021, and this is where you would close out the year. Is there many people on, Brandy, that they do this part of it, right? They just don't pay they just don't do the taxes part.
Yeah. They can. If they don't, we will close it out as we're going through our processes.
So basically, you're going to close it out and approve them, and then you're ready to move forward with printing them out, which is the next step. We just looked at it for test printing out of W-2s before. Same thing for printing out your reports. Same thing, like Brandy said, if you want to download them as well, you can do that. So I think we're ready to hit the last part, which is probably submitting a file.
And a keynote there, Jim, I think it says it on the document as well, but if CS3 does your taxes, you don't have to do this. So I think this is mainly going to be Shawnee that does this, and they've done it in the past couple of years.
So it's basically the same place that we were. Let's see, we'll back out. I still have to go here. We're in process, and then the EF right there. So, and then you would choose the right year, and then you would create your file. All right. I'm sure if anybody had questions, they were already submitting them. So I think we can take a 5-minute break, and then we'll come back, and Rhonda will do the ACA stuff.
Very good.
All righty. See you guys in 5 minutes.
This conference will now be recorded.
There we are. Okay. Almost forgot. Okay, so the first thing we have on the agenda today is to talk about our due dates. So we just saw this yesterday that they have a proposed 30-day extension, which would take the ACA form delivery deadline from January 31st to March 2nd. It is still in the proposal stage after my research that I did yesterday. So we don't have the final answer on that, but we do believe it is going to be extended to March 2nd. A lot of the stuff that we are going to go through in the preliminary steps are things that we could start doing today, because with Scissortail, as opposed to a lot of your legacy systems that you came from. You actually have the ability to review someone's ACA timeline at any point during the year. And we can see exactly what it's going to look like. So then, of course, we have the filing deadlines with the IRS. And so if you're going to be sending in paper, you have until February 28th to send those in. And if you are sending in the electronic file, you have till March 31st. And of course, the note here that anybody who has 250 or more returns, 1095s, that you must file electronically. And the good news is Scissortail is set up to allow you to do that yourself from inside Scissortail. So next that we want to look at is we want to pull up your benefit plans. We're going to go look at medical and see how these settings look. So I'm going to bring over our demo company that we were talking about. And by the way, I just logged in as our demo company administrator and have the pop-up here. A lot of people have a tendency to just automatically turn these off. These are, Brandy does not take these lightly. These things that come out and come up for you are for your help in preparing, and definitely take the time to read them and make note of the information that's in them so that you can be prepared for any upcoming events. Okay, so we're going to go into the benefit plans. Now, we've pointed out before, you've got a search bar here. You've also got a search bar up here in the top right of the screen. Either one of these, you can just type in the word plans, and you'll be able to choose the plans under profiles, policies, and benefits. One of the things that we always emphasize is that if the breadcrumbs underneath the wording that you see starts with the word my, that's going to be part of your self-service. So if you're doing something that affects all employees or a global item, you want to make sure it does not start with my. So we've got plans, profiles, policies, and benefits. That's where we're going to go. And in here, when we get to our plans, and I want you guys to be following along and doing this in your companies as well, is we want to come up with your medical plans. So a good way to do this, I don't have it listed here right now, but we can come out to select columns and we can look for a benefit type. So I'm just going to click that looking glass and I'm just going to type the word type. And well, do I not have it? This is one of those times when I thought I knew exactly what I was talking about, but let me do this. I'm just gonna jump into this guy because I know it's him. It's my benefit type is medical. So I can add that to that list. Let's go back to select columns and I'm just gonna say benefit. Interesting. It's not in my demo company, but I know I have it available.
Do you need me to check something, Rhonda?
Yeah, I don't know. I'd like to show them how we can have, know which type of benefit it is out here in this column. So anyways, we're gonna, your plans, how many medical plans you have, and you're gonna wanna check this for every medical plan that you have. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go into the plan itself. I clicked on the blue words to go into the plan. And when you get in here, the main things we want to check is it set up to be a medical benefit type? They should all be set up that way already. Your plans that were active for this calendar year, because ACA is based on calendar year, it doesn't matter when your benefit plan year is, you're going with the calendar year. So if it was active as part of the calendar year 2021, we want to make sure that the active box is checked, and we want the effective from and to dates to include dates in the 2021 calendar year. So we're going to say 11/1/2009, or, you know, it should at least say 1/1/2001 and cover part of or all of 2021. Okay, so I may have made that too difficult and confusing with my explanation, so definitely pipe up if you've got questions on that. Your plan is most likely COBRA eligible. That is not something that we have to have for ACA benefit setup, but we do have to all check this box that says coverage provided through the end of the term month. Even if you do not allow coverage to go through the end of the term month, you have to select that box. This is what tells the ACA part of the system that you offered coverage in an employee's termination month. So unless you want to do a bunch of manual changes, you want to have this box checked. Okay, so you need to check those things on every one of your medical plans. Now, if you've got multiple medical plans, you're going to set this next item only for the individual plan that happens to be your minimum essential coverage plan. And you see I scrolled all the way to the bottom of the screen and come over to the right column, we've got the ACA settings. So it's this right here. And I'm going to set everything to yes, except this conditional offer. If you have a conditional offer, you know it. I believe like for CA&C, we have yours set as yes, because we only offer coverage to the spouse if they do not have coverage elsewhere. I think that's the case for you guys. Susie, you know the answer to that. So if you're not familiar with what a conditional offer is, it's definitely a no for you. But on your minimum coverage plan, and remember, minimum essential coverage plan is that plan where the employee only cost is the least expensive to the employee. That's typically going to be your minimum essential coverage plan. You've already worked this out with your benefit broker, and you know which plan that is, so you should be good to go. But inside the plan, we come all the way to the bottom and we check those things here in the right. Now, I should say on this minimum value or conditional offer, if you hover over those little I, the letter I in the circle, that's an information item. And if you hover over that, it brings you up a little box of explanation. So if you ever have questions on something, you'll also see, sometimes you'll see like a question mark in a circle. Now up here, this is your help, this question mark in this circle with the dots. But if you saw a question mark in a circle like this, it would also be another way to get additional information about that field that is next to it. Okay, so moving on. After we have set the plans up or confirmed that your benefit plans are set up properly, then we want to go in and we want to run a report, and we want to see that every employee, both terminated and active for the calendar year 2021, have got the eligibility set for their benefit profile, and that they have the ACA profile turned on for their account if they were eligible for benefits. So this slide gives us an idea of what we're looking at. Go to the Team tab, Benefits, ACA, and then Employee Actions. So I'm going to bring that back up, and I'm going to go to the hamburger, Team tab, go to Benefits. There's an ACA section, and Employee ACA Actions. Here, you're going to have the option to update your report. So for me, I would like to see this ACA Employee Actions Report, and I'm just going to copy these words real quick. I want to see this in a way that I can understand it just for ACA, right? So I'm going to remove the badge number. I'm going to remove the username. I don't need these things as part of my report that I'm doing. And then I'm also going to come over here to add remove columns. And I just want to make sure that I have a benefit profile is turned on. So I'm going to choose this employee current benefit profile. Oh, that says effective. I think that's the right one though. We'll see. And I've got the employee current ACA profile out here as well. It's already on my list. And so now I can uncheck the benefit profile and I can take some of this other stuff out that I really am not going to need. I don't need region, role, status, vaccination status, locked. That stuff doesn't apply, so I'm going to check those and remove them. Make it a simple screenshot for me so I don't have to do a lot of scrolling back and forth. And once I get it the way I want, I'm going to click the 3 dots that are closest to my data. I'm going to do Save View As. And remember, I copied those words earlier, so now I can just paste them in, and that's the name of my report, and it's going to be my default. Every time I come out here, this is the way my screen is going to look. Now, I can go to the other views, as you know, but I'm setting this as my ACA Employee Action default. So now your job is to go through and make sure that if somebody is eligible, that they're set up with the eligibility profile as well as an ACA profile. And don't forget, you need this for both active and terminated employees who may have worked during that year. Now, once you have done that, then we want to recalculate the ACA forms for 2021. It's real easy. We can do this multiple times. You can do it at any time throughout the year, you know, that whole thing. So what we do once we have everything set up the way we want, we've done, you know, we've updated profiles and things, and know that you can update these profiles. Let me show you a new fun thing. We have 2 tabs up here. One says my account that I logged in on, and then my other. So I can actually open up multiple windows here. So under this, I can go to my hamburger and click on my icon here. It may be just your initials, it may be your picture, and say new window. And now I can have something going in one screen as well as on another tab in the same browser, okay? So here, if I need to update those ACA profiles for all my employees, I'm gonna come in and I'm just gonna say mass edit, and I get my list of reports. I wanna choose mass edit profiles. And I'm going to select my employees that I want to edit just by clicking the buttons, or I could just select individual rows and go into the mass edit. And then you're going to want to update the ACA profile. So on mine, I've set the widget down here at the very bottom of the left column. And I can come in and I can say use my default ACA profile and apply change. If you don't have this ACA profile or ACA widget down here, you're going to have to do like we talked about on one of the other earlier, and go to edit tabs. And in this available windows over here, all you do is you grab a window and you drag it over and put it in the column where you want it. Now, we have done some preliminary work for you, so I think most of you should have that ACA tab on your Mass Edit Profile screen, just so that you can use it when you need it. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my previous tab, which was my Employee ACA Actions tab. And I'm going to go ahead and select all my employees, and I'm going to say recalculate. And this is going to recalculate for 2021. So we have to choose our year that we're calculating that for. And this just gives it a chance to fully update everybody's records. And then we can start looking to see and reviewing those timesheets or those timelines, I'm sorry, for the employee's individual status. So one way to do this to make sure that it's showing up correctly is to go ahead and just click on the employee themselves. And when the employee record comes up, if you can see I have the 3 basic tabs up here at the front, but I've added a tab for ACA. Same thing as before, we clicked Edit Tabs. And on my ACA tab, I brought in the timeline, a summary, a status history, and the timeline exceptions. Now you can put other things out here as well, but this just makes it real easy to be able to scroll from one employee to another if you're doing your end of year checks, okay? So as part of this, I'm just gonna click the back arrow. I'm gonna say, okay, I didn't make any changes. And I'm just gonna jump over to her ACA page here. So you can see I've got mine set up in a single column view so I can see as much items in the real estate down here below as possible. This is the first widget is my timeline overview, and it's got everything I need. Each widget is going to give me information, and then you can see I've got essentially it looks kind of like what my form would look like at the end of the year, but it only goes back 6 months. So if I wanted to see all 12 months for this employee, I'm going to click this link that says Manage Employees ACA Timeline. And it's going to open it up just a little bit further. I can confirm that she's got the profile set up on her, which we wouldn't even be able to see those widgets if she didn't. And then I'm going to go to this date range, click the down arrow. And in this first day, all I'm going to do is click the calendar and select January and apply. And so it has basically recalculated her 1095 form for us. And so we've got January starting here and going all the way through, if I pull it all the way across, December. And you'll notice I have, the first line is the line 14. Line 14 determines whether or not we made an offer of coverage to the employee. Line 15 in my data is blank. And I'm wondering if any of you know why it's blank on my particular form, because this would normally be, line 15 is usually the employee only cost of coverage for your minimum essential coverage plan. So 1H means we offered it. I got to remember what 2H means, but the employee is on the plan, so I believe that's what that means. And so I'm not seeing anything in the chat just yet, but we only see the dollars pop up here if we're using offer of coverage that is different from a 1H. So it would have to be a 1B, like boy, or a 1E, something of that nature. So if you have a 1H and a 2H in the 14, 15, and 16 lines, then don't be too concerned if you don't have a dollar amount in here. Okay. As we scroll down the screen, and we have a inside your year-end checklist, the spreadsheet that Jim has been using and you've been following along in, under the ACA, there is a link to all of your ACA codes. So those codes will all be listed there. All of the 1 codes are going to be line 14 codes, which mean offer of coverage. All of the 2 codes are line 16 codes, which tell us whether or not the employee elected to take the coverage. Okay, as we scroll down this page, you can see from January through December again, we can see the employee's status. We can see their hours they worked that month, their status with the organization that month, whether or not they were full-time or part-time, and what we set their ACA status to be during that time. Okay, so everything you see here is just standard colored information, right? Everything is in black. If I needed to make a change to something, like this says part-time, and I come back and make it full-time and save my page, when I go down there, I'm going to see that I've made a manual edit. You may also see things change color. So if it's green, that would also indicate that we've made a manual edit. Now the next widget is our measurement information. And this gives us information about waiting periods and non-assessment periods and things of that nature. But the one I really want you to look at is this alert section. We have an alert down at the bottom of everybody's screen that tells us if they're approaching full-time. So if you've got part-time employees that are approaching full-time because of the hours that they've been working in the last 12 months or so, then that would be where we would see that, yes, there's a possibility of them approaching full-time. We may need to change them to a full-time employee or a possible downgrade. So these alerts are available to you, and there's actually, I'm going to jump back over to our other tab, and I'm going to type in notifications. Under global setup notifications, you can actually click the new notification. I always like to filter by the word like, and I'm just going to say ACA. So this is a great notification to turn on, this ACA predicted status change. This will send you an email notification if you have an employee who possibly could go up or go down. All right. So I'm going to go back to the original tab. And are there any questions on the employee timeline? These are things that you want to watch and monitor as you have those rehires and those variable employees. Those are the people that we're going to be tracking the closest in here, and that we're going to want to take a real good look at. This is where I'm saying you can come in and you can start reviewing today. So I'm going to go ahead and click the back arrow as in come back out of that basement here and go back out to my employee actions, ACA actions report. And with this report, once we have done that recalculate, we actually have the ability to come in and apply some other information or some other items. So if you are a TLM only company, I don't think we have any of those out here. If you're a payroll only and all of your time is kept elsewhere, then we may have to import your time or your hours for the ACAs. So I'm not sure if we have anybody there, but as long as you've got payroll, you should be good to go. Payroll and HR, you should be good to go on this. But if you have questions on whether or not we have to import something, we can talk about that later. Let's go back out. Just going to jump over here and see what our next thing is. So yeah, let's go in and look at some of these reports and things that we have. So I'm going to go to the hamburger once more, and under the ACA section, we've just done the employee ACA actions. Now I want to take you to the year-end processing. This is another place where you can view those forms at a glance and see, see what needs to be changed, or dive down in. You can see I have ACA reports for all the past years, and I can go back in and view those if I need to. So everything is kept within the system. Feel like I've been yelling at all y'all for a long time, so I had to take a drink. But to start 2021, we're going to add a tax year entry. It automatically comes up with 2021. We can do that now. So if you're following along, go ahead. I'm going to open up the hamburger again. I'm going to cancel this so I can open it up. But to get where you need to go, it's under Teams, Benefits, and then we're going to come down to ACA year-end processing. All right. Go ahead and click the Add Tax Year Entry for 2021. This will just get it started. So we've been doing payroll year-end processes, right? And so now I'm going to click the pencil for the 2021 ACA year-end process. And I would think, since many of you are payroll people, you're going to recognize this checklist or page of things that we go through is really very similar to the same checklist that we have for payroll processing, right? So it's kind of a wizard. You're just going to go from one item to the next. We've got a couple of warnings here. You know, it says no forms have been opened, etc. So just because we've recalculated timelines doesn't mean we've opened any forms. We can open forms right now. And so I would say let's go ahead and do it while we're here in the class so that we can keep going back and evaluating. And every time you recalculate, once you've opened those forms, it updates those forms and you'll be good to go. So, you know, it gives you this warning about your responsibilities and things, but I'm going to come down here to the very first thing, checklist steps. And it says we have not opened any forms. So let's go to View Employee Forms 1095C. And so I have no forms here. I'm going to click Mass Add New. And I'm just going to mass add for the selected year. And say OK. And now it's brought in anybody, basically anybody who's received a paycheck this year. So if they're going to get a W-2, they probably are going to be on this list unless they're not eligible for benefits. I can extend my rows on the page so I can see everybody. I can make any adjustments to the screen if I want. This tells me what status the form is in. Is it finalized? Is it visible? When was it modified? And then I can also click the three dots closest to my data and do a save view if I wanted to add or remove any particular columns. So now you have the ability to select one, a few, or all and say, I'm going to do this. I'm going to select all. I think I would suggest it for you as well. Let's go ahead and populate those forms. So when you do that, it's taking the information from the timeline and it's putting it into the form. If you're following along, I know you've probably got more than 24 employees in your data. So it's taken a minute more and I don't want to jump too far ahead too quickly.
And Rhonda, just to point out, we're getting really close to noon. So
okay.
Just want to, I'm not going to say you can't keep going, but I just want to point that out if anybody needs to drop or anything like that. We're getting really close to noon.
Well, I can hit the gas at this point. This is definitely one of those things that once you've done your populate, then you can view, you know, select items to be viewed. And this will actually be the true form that will be applied for the employee. So it gives you for all 12 months, it shows you everything you need. You should be, you know, probably familiar with the form. You can save it. If you're happy with the form, finalize it. While you're looking at it, finalize it. I wouldn't do that until after January 1st, but you know what I mean. It's got all of their information on it. You should be good to go. Once you finalize the form, you can always unfinalize if you find you need to go back and make changes. But if you've selected multiples, you can scroll from form to form, do your review. You can save it, you can populate it. If you have questions about what's going on this form, you can click on the employee and drill down and go straight into the profile. You can recalculate, you can see what's going on, that type of information. We take the back arrow to come back upstairs to our report. save, leave the screen. And so as we come back out to our checklist, we just then follow each of these steps in the wizard. The share 1095s will basically be just like when you finalize a payroll and people get their emails that say their pay statement is ready. The same thing will happen with 1095Cs. Once you say share these forms, that's essentially saying we've completed your 1095s and they're ready to be shared. So I would not share these until everybody is finished. And you don't want to send those email notifications until the time has come. Then you're going to go through the same steps. It's just going to walk you through how to prepare your 1094C and then finalizing that. Then to deliver everything, printing paper forms that would need to be printed would all happen in this step. And then generating your air files. When you're ready to do this, I have a video that's available for you that will walk you through generating your air files. You are going to need to go out and make sure that you are registered, and you need to do that immediately if you haven't already done that, to make sure that you have your registration number with the IRS so that you're able to file your air files. Any questions? It's noon.
And Rhonda, I'll send out a survey to everybody right after this call. So we appreciate your comments back in the survey, and everybody coming to the class.
Yeah. All righty. Thanks a lot.
Rhonda, there's a question from Brandy Owens that you may want to respond to. You can go directly to her on that one.
Okay, I didn't see it. How soon will we get the video? ACA should be accurate for anybody that went live this year. Because we ensured that we brought in checks in a manner that would cover, make sure that your hours and earnings were entered for every month.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.